And welcome back to Coast. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs back with us, of course. Ben, welcome back.
Thank you, George. Great to be back.
What are you doing on Independence Day?
Just chilling, doing a little bit of work, and appreciating my independence and loving America.
Well, just listen to Coast that night. We'll be live. We'll have a show. So give me some information. I'm not a coffee drinker, but why would people who drink more coffee than those who don't survive longer?
Coffee's a health drink. The caffeine isn't so great, but even the caffeine has got some benefits. You know, caffeine is what's called a nootropic agent, which means it increases learning ability. It improves athletic performance. There's a lot of benefits to caffeine. It's overuse and too much caffeine that's a problem. But coffee itself is a rich source of magnesium and iron and wonderful antioxidants. So it is not surprising to anybody who understands the chemistry of coffee that I guess you said 10% less. How did you describe it? A 10% less chance of death over 10 years or something.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. But, you know, there's lots. Nature is filled with these powerful antioxidants that can help extend life and reduce the risks of diseases. All plants, anything that grows out of the ground is rich medicine. Isn't that amazing, George, that the stuff that grows out of the ground is the richest medicine you could ever use? The stuff that grows in the cracks of sidewalks is powerful medicine for menopause and diabetes. The stuff we rip out of our gardens and toss out, or we spray chemicals on to destroy, is some of the best medicine there is. It grows abundantly, it's free, and it's just a classic example of how nature has intended for us to be healthy and well.
I think the divine creator created everything on this planet to fight ills and afflictions.
For our ease. We truly live in a Garden of Eden if we could but recognize it, and if we didn't destroy it. Anything that you could point to that indicates that Earth is not a planet of bliss and abundance is all based on human beings destroying what we have.
We've got emails that have rolled in for you, Ben, as soon as people realized you were coming on tonight. So let me go through a couple of those. We're going to take phone calls at the bottom of this hour for you and all next hour as well. We're with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. This email in from Carol. Now, this is a drug for alcohol and drug abuse. She says, what do you think about the alternative drug LDN, low-dose naltrexone?
Low-dose naltrexone is very interesting stuff for pain relief. And there's a lot of interesting literature on it. It is a drug, and I'm a nutritionist before I'm a pharmacist, so I hesitate to really tout medication, but LDN does have some really interesting benefits for people who are in severe pain. Low-dose naltrexone, and for autoimmune issues. If anybody is dealing with chronic pain issues or autoimmune issues, they might want to look into LDN, low-dose naltrexone.
There was a case last week about a woman who went to get a prescription for a miscarriage from a drugstore, and the pharmacist refused to give her the prescription drug.
Yeah, that's an interesting subject there, George.
I guess the company said that the pharmacists have the right to turn it down, but must turn it over to another pharmacist.
Right. And, you know, no harm, no foul, but I think that if they just hand it over to somebody else, but I think that particular pharmacist gave her a lecture, or embarrassed her, or shamed her somehow, and that should never happen. That's not right. But I can see why, if people have certain philosophical and religious beliefs, as long as they pass it on, because this is you're dealing with people's health here. You know, I mean, it may seem like it's frivolous. You may have your own opinion about birth control, but it's still dealing with people's health, and pharmacists and doctors are sworn to have an ethical obligation to take care of people's health. So, but if a pharmacist or a doctor has a particular religious belief or philosophical stand, just pass it on to another pharmacist. I think in this case the pharmacist didn't handle it well.
Another email in from Benjamin, and he wants to know about floaters in the eye.
Yes, very common.
Explain what they are first.
They're basically exactly what they sound like. They're little pieces of. You look up when you look at your field of vision, you see little things in your field of vision. Basically, it's your eye breaking down, your eye deteriorating, and it's a classic demonstration of the generic nature of disease. George, this is what I've been talking about for 25 years, over 25 years. Diseases are generic. They're all based in the deterioration of the body. Floaters of the eye is arthritis of the eye. It's heart disease of the eye. It's Alzheimer's disease of the eye. Alzheimer's disease is floaters of the brain. It's all the same thing. It's the body breaking down. It has nothing. We want to get this notion that diseases are based in specific organs out of our heads because it doesn't serve us. When we understand that the disease process is generic, no matter what you call your disease, we'll be able to take our power back. Because once we understand that it's just the body breaking down, all we got to do is figure out how to build the body back up. That's the answer to all diseases. Figure out how to build the body back up, how to make the body stronger. And I'm talking psoriasis, I'm talking arthritis, I'm talking heart disease, I'm talking cancer. Our goal is not to cure the cancer, it's to make the body stronger. It's not to cure the arthritis. It's to make the body stronger. It's not to address the specific organs, but to take care of the body as a system. And when we understand that, we'll see that it's just a few basic things, George. It's food. It's nutrition. It's oxygen. It's reducing your blood sugar. This is all diseases we're talking about here. It's stress management. It's mental and emotional and spiritual aspects. And it doesn't matter what you call the disease. If you practice these common sense, generic ideas that you can employ from the comfort of your own living room, bathroom, bedroom, and kitchen, will be liberated from this medical model that has tyrannically monopolized the healthcare process, which is really part of our bodies. You know, the body heals itself.
It's supposed to. When I got this email in about the floaters, I went online to do a little research, and it shows that now ophthalmologists are, in some cases, are able to zap this with a laser to get rid of it. But how can you get rid of it naturally with supplements? Can you?
Absolutely, by strengthening the body. Most important thing is one of the most important things is to reduce your blood sugar. There's a major connection between eye health and blood sugar issues, and given the fact that 100 million people in this country have blood sugar issues or more, it's a good strategy to start off by working with your blood sugar system. Get on nutritional supplements. The Sweeties from Longevity is a wonderful anti-blood sugar lowering supplement. Use dietary strategies. Reduce your intake of sweets and pasta and bread and potatoes. Lowering your blood sugar is so important for eye health and for brain health and for the health of the entire body. And that's what I'm saying here, George. Is focus on the generic, basic, simple ideas. Forget about the specific details of your diagnosis. I call it the tyranny of the diagnosis. We think we're our diagnosis. You know what a diagnosis is, George? You know how they always say you can't diagnose. Nobody can diagnose. Only a doctor can diagnose. You know what a diagnosis is? It's a description of what's happening in the body. It's not a specific kind of disease. Multiple sclerosis just means you have hardening in multiple places of your body. Muscular dystrophy simply means that the muscles aren't growing correctly. Fibromyalgia simply means that you have muscle fiber pain. We name these diseases based on how the particular description, but it's irrelevant for healing. For healing, you do the basics. You work on the digestive system. You lower the blood sugar. You make sure you're breathing correctly. You get on a nutritional supplement program. You exercise and you leverage the spiritual and mental and emotional dimensions. And this is all health challenges. And once we nail this down, George, we will be free from the medical model, which has done nothing in the last 100 years except possibly make the problem worse. And that's an exaggeration. I say for chronic diseases, it's done nothing. Because you know what, George? The medical model excels in some things. And I'm guilty of ripping on the medical model. I'm no fan in a lot of ways, but we have to give credit where credit is due, right? There's certain things that the medical model is good for. So if you have an emergency or for perhaps a serious infection. But for long-term degenerative chronic diseases, these are based on how we live our lives. And that's not to judge anybody. That's not to say anybody's wrong. That's to say we can take our power back. We can become our own health authorities, and this is true for all chronic long-term degenerative diseases, which are 80% of our health care costs in this country.
All right. And thank you and Doc Wallach for the service that you both do.
I know exactly what you're talking about because people aren't getting this kind of information, this straight information. And, you know, I shouldn't say it is available, but we get to partake in it, you and I and Dr. Wallach. You're doing a great work here yourself, by the way, George. It's so important because no matter what, you know, the world could be falling apart. But if you have your health, If you don't have your health, what else matters?
That's right. You can't help the people you care about if you don't have your health.
Exactly. You can't. In fact, you're a burden on the people you care about if you don't have your health. There is absolutely nothing more important and fundamental than our physical health. And emotional, mental, spiritual, they're all important. But your physical well-being, it's hard to care about anything when you're in pain. And this is so unnecessary. It's tragic. And I'll tell you what, I'm honored, and I know Dr. Wallach feels the same way. I know you feel the same way, that we can help people at this basic fundamental level when they're so in need. Even
when one person gets helped,
yes,
it's worth the whole thing.
How does that make you feel when you hear that?
Oh, my gosh.
Right? Exactly.
It really does. I mean, it overwhelms you sometimes in emotion.
Yeah.
When somebody came up to me at an event in Las Vegas that we had a couple weeks ago, and this was about you and Doc Wallach again, and they said that you had saved their life. And, we're in a meet and greet line, so I don't have that kind of time to talk to them all night because people are coming by. There's 800 people in line. But I did say, what do you mean, saved your life? And he just said, I listened intently over the last year to both of them on your show and started doing things that I never thought I would do before. And it just changed my life. They saved my life.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful, George.
Yeah. Let's take some calls for you. And then we'll do the same next hour. And then Tom's got some texts and tweets, too.
Great.
Let's go to our favorite truck driver in Texas, Delbert, with us. Hi, Delbert. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Delbert.
Yeah.
Good
yeah,
day.
Great show.
Thank you, sir.
My wife got on the Healthy Start Paks, and I'm taking it too, but she started getting headaches, sick to her stomach, and it just, for some reason, doesn't agree to her. Is she taking too much of it?
Yeah, it could be very, very well that she's taking too much of it. I always recommend that if you're not on don't have a history of being on a nutritional supplement program, that you start with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine a little bit slow, like maybe a scoop in a glass. I like people to sip on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine rather than do it all at once. So you maybe put a scoop of it in a bottle of water and then sip on that bottle of water real slowly throughout the day. Also take it with food is another good strategy. If you find that a lot of times people will have these digestive issues. The body can't handle all of that nutrition sometimes if it doesn't have the enzymes and all the chemistry in the digestive system to be able to handle all or absorb and utilize all those nutrients. So start off slowly, take it with food, and then dilute it by putting it in a bottle of water and then sipping on it slowly throughout the day.
I generally, Ben, go lower personally for myself than higher in terms of supplements. I know Doc Wallach likes to go by weight,
right?
And he says, take 9 pills based on how much you weigh and this and that. I'll take just maybe 1 or 2.
I like your strategy because it utilizes your intuition. You kind of have a feeling about what's right and and I always tell people to trust their intuition. Go by how you feel. I'm on board with that, George. If that's how you feel intuitively, that's what you should be doing.
And it works for me.
That's exactly right. You're in, and I'm not surprised, of course. Look at the work you do. You're in touch with your intuition.
East of the Rockies, Nancy in Victoria, Texas, with us. Welcome to the program. Hi, Nance.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi.
How can we help you?
Actually, it's a question in regards about my father's health because he recently passed away from cirrhosis of the liver, and I was wondering what is cirrhosis of the liver and how does it affect the human body?
Well, and let us ask you this, too. Did he drink a lot in his day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, it usually affects people who drink a lot, but now they have something. Cirrhosis is basically deterioration of the liver. Like I was saying earlier, all diseases are deterioration of the body, it's a specific part of the body. Understandably, because the liver does so much work, it has its own kind of designation. The deterioration of the liver, we refer to it as cirrhosis. It's a type of fibrosis and fattiness that occurs in the liver. Today we have something called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Have you heard this term? NAFLD. And they had to they had to give it a separate name because so many people now are having the same kind of diseases that 25, 30 years ago you had to be drinking Jack Daniels out of a brown paper bag to get. Today, 100 million Americans or so are dealing with it. They had to give it its own special name. They call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Basically, what you're talking about is the liver, which performs over 500 different functions, including processing amino acids and making vitamins and storing vitamins and clearing the blood of toxins, etc. Basically, the liver starts to break down, and that's what cirrhosis is. Alcohol can speed it up, of course, and that's why typically we all stereotypically think of alcoholics when we hear cirrhosis. But blood sugar problems can do it, and one of the hidden causes of liver problems, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is prescription drugs. People don't realize you take a prescription drug, and now you have added work on the liver.
That's right.
One of the best things you could do if you're on a prescription drug is support your liver system. And I'm going to give you a little tip here, George. You can use digestive enzymes to support the liver's ability to detox.
How about milk thistle?
Milk thistle is a good one. There are lots of herbs, actually, that have liver properties. But I like people to use nutrition because herbs still have to be processed by the same organ, the very organ you're trying to heal, that is the liver. But if you use nutrients, digestive enzymes in particular can have our ultimate enzymes at Longevity have something in them called bile salts. You know, bile is one of the most underappreciated fluids in the body. Next to the blood, the bile is probably the most important fluid. And when you think of bile, most people think of what? The digestive system, right? But what we don't talk about a lot is the fact that bile is a major part of the detoxification system. So supporting bile is so important for the liver, so important for detoxification, and that's why our ultimate enzymes, I was saying, we don't market them as a detox supplement, but they're a wonderful detox supplement because they support the bile system. And by the way, if you have your gallbladder, that's a major part of the bile system, keep it. Without your gallbladder, you're seriously compromised, and then it becomes mandatory, absolutely mandatory, that you use products like our ultimate enzymes and anything that supports your bile system.
They seem to take out the gallbladder pretty quickly these days.
A lot. Absolutely. I mean, now listen, George, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody who's had gallstones, but they can be pretty darn painful, and I can certainly understand why somebody's would want their organ taken out, but if they're in that state. But many gallbladders are removed because of what are called silent stones. And silent stones are stones that are just there but don't hurt. If your doctor is recommending that you have a gallbladder taken out because of silent stones, ask them about something called oral, that is taken by the mouth, litholysis, which means breaking up of stones. And he'll tell you that the ingredients in our ultimate enzymes are the number one way that you address oral litholysis, oral breakdown of stones. Anybody who has a gallbladder or has silent stones or who has gallbladder issues should think about using our ultimate enzymes in addition to other digestive strategies. Just simply eliminating problem foods can help reduce gallstones and improve bile. Reducing your intake of prescription drugs, staying away from toxins. All of these are wonderful ways to support the bile system and to improve the prognosis of gallbladder issues.
All right, let's go to Tom for a text or tweet. Go ahead, Tom.
This one from James in Austin. Please ask Ben about green smoothies. Are they the cure-all for everything? I've heard they are.
I don't like cure-alls for everything, but they're pretty darn good. That's what we were talking about earlier, George, is how nature and vegetation is so rich in incredible nutrients, vitamins and enzymes and minerals. Now, green smoothies it depends. That's kind of a generic term, so you got to be careful. I recommend green drinks, as in juices. Like get a Vitamix, which is a high-powered blender. You just throw your veggies in, and that's the best green drink there is. Smoothies, when I think of smoothies, I hear the word smoothies. I think of sometimes a lot of sweet stuff and a lot of fruit. I think vegetable juices are, I wouldn't say the cure-all for everything, but they're pretty darn close.
What do you think of apple cider vinegar?
Oh,
Patricia Bragg would love you, I'm sure.
Man, is that stuff amazing. You know, if you get on the internet and read about apple cider vinegar, you're going to think it's a bunch of quackery. You're going to say, there's no way something as simple as apple cider vinegar could address diabetes and improve weight loss and clean the blood and take care of your liver and be an appetite suppressant, et cetera, et cetera. That's quackery. But it's not, George. Apple cider vinegar contains a powerful, powerful substance that is technically called a short-chain fatty acid. It's called, the specific name is acetic acid. And this stuff, this short-chain fatty acid, is made in our intestines in response to fiber. Bacteria in our gut eat the fiber and release this acetic acid stuff. And acetic acid tells the brain that everything is okay. It has a calming effect on the body, a health-producing effect on the body. Well, you get that. The best way to get one of the best ways to get the acetic acid is to make sure you're eating fiber. And that's another reason why these vegetable juices are so important. And getting on our nightly essence product, by the way, using a probiotic supplement. But apple cider vinegar contains significant amounts of this acetic acid stuff, and when you drink it, you get those healthful benefits that you would get from your very own intestine. And that's not to mention the fact that apple cider vinegar is great for the digestive system. It helps activate digestive enzymes. You know, people are taking antacids like they're going out of style these days, right?
Like it's candy.
Like it's candy, right? You'd think that people are making too much acid. Would it shock you, George, if I told you that more people have low stomach acid than high stomach acid?
Yes, I would be shocked by
It's the facts. In fact, low stomach acid disguises itself as heartburn. When you have low stomach acid, the little sphincter that connects your esophagus to your stomach gets loose, and acid splashes back up. When you have problems in your intestine, acid can splash back up. So that feeling of acid splashing back up, that's not a sign of too much acid. That's a sign of too little acid. And when you don't make enough acid, you, number one, can't absorb nutrients. Number two, your body starts to deteriorate. And number three, all of the digestive functions downstream suffer, and that means intestinal problems and bowel problems and problems at the level of the liver. So acidifying the contents of the stomach is very important. The ultimate enzymes that I was telling you about earlier, and by the way, you can get those at criticalhealthnews.com, the ultimate enzymes I was telling you about earlier has an acidifying agent. So not only do you get the digestive enzymes, but you also get the acidifying agent. Well, apple cider vinegar does the same thing, and I always recommend people do a little shot of apple cider vinegar with all their meals. I do it in the middle of the day, in addition to doing it with all my meals. Amazing stuff, and right on to Patricia Bragg for catching it.
Yeah. Let's go to David, Ontario. Welcome to the program, David. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. I have an issue with my left ankle. I have no cartilage or ligaments left in it. It's extremely painful. It's on about a 45-degree angle. I'm on a list to get it operated on in the fall. I was wondering if there's anything you might be able to give me to help with the pain for the time being.
Sounds like glucogel and osteo. Boy, have I learned.
That's very good, George. That's exactly right. Glucogel and the OsteoFX. I get on the Healthy Brain and Body Pack, or Healthy Body Pack with the glucogel caps in it. It's that way you get the entire Mighty 90 essential nutrients with your glucogel caps. And when you're doing the glucogel caps, you always want to sip on a little Beyond Tangy Tangerine. The vitamin C and the glucosamine work together to help build connective tissue. You might also want to try the CM cream for the pain. You know, connective tissue is fascinating stuff, George. Most of our body is made up of this stuff. Do you ever go to the bodies exhibit at the museum where you see the bodies without the skin?
No.
Never. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So the body without the skin is kind of this flesh robot thing, really unbelievably miraculous mechanical system, and that flesh robot is connective tissue and muscle tissue, and all of the signs of aging, George, and all of the diseases we suffer from. Underneath, if you look far enough, you'll find connective tissue deterioration, which makes the glucogel caps, which are a connective tissue building supplement, the quintessential anti-aging and anti-disease supplement. I'll tell you what else is a quintessential anti-aging and anti-disease substance, or food, actually, and that's bone broth, which you and I have talked about.
You love chicken bone broth, don't you?
Bone broth, exactly. The cartilage from bone broth is the ideal food for a growing connective tissue. And there's a very good reason why traditionally indigenous populations have basically, in many ways at least, subsisted on bone broth. And it formed a very important part of their diet. And for a lot of reasons, the elements in bone broth are good for the immune system and they're good for the blood, but they're really, really amazing for building connective tissue. Also, for the gentleman with the pain, waiting for surgery, stretching can be very important for generating connective tissue. When you stretch the body, you improve electrical energy flow through the connective tissue, and simply by stretching the connective tissue, you can stimulate its growth. So doing stretching is extremely important. Things like Pilates, maybe, or yoga, where the body stretches, and even a massage.
Would you avoid surgery as much as you could?
Absolutely.
Possibly, you
Every
would.
surgery not only has risks, George, but when they cut into you and the body heals, almost always, 90% of the time or more, it develops what are called adhesions. Have you heard of this term?
Mm-hmm.
Adhesions
Sure
are
have.
stickiness. Exactly, and adhesions can cause further diseases later on down the road. They can cause pain. They can cause all kinds of problems, and 90% of surgical procedures result in these kinds of adhesions. It's just part of the surgical process. So if you can avoid surgery, avoid it at all costs. Of course, there are times when you can't avoid it. I understand that. But elective surgery, where they cut you open, when they cut you open on the operating room, your body doesn't know you're in an operating room. It's going back to the African savanna hundreds of thousands of years ago. It thinks a lion is eating you. And it will mobilize all of the stress response chemistry.
Jeez.
This is why they give you blood thinners after surgery.